Hello, here we are again going back in time with BassMaster Magazine. We're right now in the March-April issue of 1981. And back then you got to remember a lot of basses still was justifying their existence, that they were more than just somebody taking advantage of a resource. They were also trying to protect that resource. And this particular one, it starts off really dealing with something that you don't hear much about anymore. Curiously why. It's about acid rain. And acid rain is, again, I'm not going to get into the science of it, but one of the things that's similar to now, I just got back from my favorite lake in the world, Lake Mead, and acid rain, and they talk about it in here in several deals. They kind of explain the science of what causes it with the pollution and mixing in the air, and then it turns to acid and rains and kills plants and stuff. And it's also, when it gets in the water, it hurts the ecosystem that's in the lake. And so sometimes what we look at is what we consider the most beautiful water is the crystal clear water. Was also looked at back then, especially, and probably now, as being caused by acid rain. There's reason it's clear is because there's nothing in it, nothing living in it. There's no algae, there's no plankton, so it creates a very clear environment. Now we as anglers, through our own experience, we're now in the 2025 versus 1981 here. We still understand as an angler that clear water is the least fertile water. So from a fishery standpoint, you really want to be in more fertile water, and that's usually water that has some type of color to it, because it's running in heavy rains, bringing in a lot of nutrients in those areas. And it really provoked in me, reading this and where I was out at Lake Mead fishing the One Bass Open out there, how it hit me, and I should have hit me sooner, that I won the Open twice. And it hit me out there hard that I will never see water in those areas again. There will never be water in any of the places where I won the Open in Lake Mead ever again. Not in the life of mankind anyway, because of the amount of water that we're pulling out of those lakes. And the fact that even now we should be politicking in some way to prevent that from happening, but I don't know that we can. We spend a lot of time and resources condemning invasive species, which I get, it's kind of a sad, humorous situation. Zebra mussels and all kinds of aquatic plants and things. And yet, we kind of give the most invasive species a free ride. And that's what's happening at Mead. And we're the most invasive species, humans. And so it kind of saddens me that we're really not doing anything very constructive in that sense of controlling our consumption of the water that goes into Lake Powell, Lake Mead via the Colorado River that comes out of the Rockies. And so it was a great trip, but it was kind of a sad moment for me when I came to that realization. And now looking back on these articles, the rain that kills, and stuff that we were acknowledging back then, that we still got some issues we should be addressing, about our evasive effect on things, because I just feel like a hypocrite every time we start condemning some little zebra mussel, And yeah, I understand that, but that's just the way the planet has worked. And the water clarity here, factor, and that's what I just kind of went into, that sometimes it looks pretty, but it's not healthy. And I've always, I know just from my own experience, I always looked for the off-color water, because I always found the bigger fish there. And it took, over time you realize that that's a reason, that there's more nutrients there, thus there's more food there. They should be healthier, quality fish in those areas, and it is true. I mean, my experience proves it out. But no, that's kind of really what this particular issue was about, was the Bassers Guidelines to Water Clarity, and everybody has a different definition. They say, well, how clear is that lake? And you go, oh, it's about 2 foot deep. I mean, it's about this deep. Everybody judges it different. My most accurate judgment is, okay, how deep can you see a spinnerbait when you drop it over the side? 1 foot, 6 inches, 1 inch, 3 feet? Okay, give me that. I don't want, you know, to get a true information on how clear the lake is. And of course, this one here goes back into, I know like Livingston right now has a version of this bait. This is again 1981. And, you know, they have make Byron Velvick basically designed it. It's a swim bait that you can, you know, that's not hard plastic, it's soft plastic. So a lot of times you look at these modern baits and go, wow, that's the first time I've ever seen that. And then I'm looking back through all these bass times and you see versions of them back then. They just didn't go mainstream. They didn't catch on for whatever reason back at that point in time. Again, I look at the Garcia Ambassador, and now it just haunts me that I can see a thumb bar on them that I really gave them the idea for it, and yeah, it wasn't a smart. Neither one of us, or Garcia or me, were smart enough to from a business standpoint, to patent it. And so everybody has it nowadays. Be a faster caster because of the thumb bar. Yeah. And again, we're back into the year trying to compete for the upcoming classic. And our first tournament was on Okeechobee. And guess who won it? Roland Martin. And so it was, you know, it brings back a lot of memories for me. I know looking back on it. And when I look at it too, compare today's standings, when you look at today's standings, very few of these competitors would qualify as a competitor nowadays, and in many different ways. All of these, I'd say 80% of these competitors had their own businesses. They financed their tournaments through running their own businesses, or they had an exceptional job, and they give them the time and the money to be a tournament angler. That doesn't exist hardly nowadays at all. Almost every one of these anglers nowadays, that's all they do. They don't have they don't have a business that they're financing that's financing this. They're financing it through their credit cards, which is the worst way to do it. Also, they're financing it through grandparents. Grandparents, the baby boomers, have a little bit of money, and they're financing their grandchildren to become tournament fishers. But that is really a major difference when you look at this field versus looking at a similar field today, is what these guys were not full-timers. Nowadays, they're full-timers, and that makes a big difference as far as how good you get and how fast you get good. Anyway, that's completes the year, April 1981.